Today's show is 7 tips for mobile multicam success. A bit of disclosure, none of the companies I'm mentioning today are paying me or I have any relationship with them. I have used them. I have paid for their subscriptions. I either still use them or I don't. It doesn't matter. All of the products I'm holding up, none of them have paid for sponsorship or me holding up their product. I actually own everything on this table. I've been doing this for 20 years. So you tend to collect stuff. So anyway, just want to put that out there that this is not being sponsored or it's not meant to promote anybody. And I write for streaming media. I don't, go read the article, but I don't get paid anything if you read the article. So continuing on. Open now. When I originally wrote this article for streaming media, I was primarily talking about using cell phones as cameras. And I did a show a couple weeks ago on an orphaned application called AirMix. So if you haven't tried doing mobile multicam with phones, this is a great way to try it out. See what you could do. AirMix is one of several apps that do mobile multicam, and that phrase has now grown a bit. So AirMix lets you use these things, but AirMix also has hardware. This is called the Curated clip that can connect to any hardware camera. Also works with their video transmitters, and technically those are mobile multicam because what it's doing is it's taking your video, packetizing it, and putting it on a Wi-Fi network. This is the same thing, Wi-Fi network. If you use a Mevo Start Wi-Fi network, it sends your video over a Wi-Fi network. So this is a mobile, multiple cameras. They sell a 3-pack of this, and that can get you going. And the same with the Obsbot. These work on Wi-Fi. Now, yes, they use NDI, but you can put these around a room and just pop, and then you're wireless. And I call that mobile multicam. And technically, you go all the way back to the original NewTek Connect Spark, which is NDI. Something loose on there? No. And this is, got these big distinctive blue antennas because this is Wi-Fi. And this is Wi-Fi NDI. This is Wi-Fi NDI. The Mevo Start can be Wi-Fi, or you could just turn Wi-Fi off and use the Mevo's own protocol and use their multicam app on the iPad. Any way you look at it, mobile, multicam, mobile, you can be moving, but multicam, wireless. That's what the focus of today is 7 tips for mobile multicam. And by mobile, I mean wireless, Wi-Fi. I do not mean using a Wi-Fi transmitter like this. That is a dedicated, purpose-built, point-to-point thing. That's not a network. And what all these other solutions do is they rely on a wireless Wi-Fi network. And all of these rules have stood the test of time. That's why I'm bringing this back. 7 rules for mobile multicam success. And the first rule, with this, the nice thing is all this kit can fit in a single case and a backpack. And rule number one, and I see people break this rule all the time. Rule number 1 is bring your own Wi-Fi. I'm just going to let that sit there. Bring your own Wi-Fi. If I were to bring a wired camera to a venue, and I know I'm going to need 30 feet of HDMI cable or 30 feet of SDI cable, I'm not going to expect the venue to have the right solution for me. They're not going to have what I need there. I'm not going to expect them to have that. So I don't know why people go to venues and say, well, I'm just going to use the venue's Wi-Fi. Because essentially, if you have a mobile device and you need to connect through Wi-Fi to your tablet to switch, the Wi-Fi is your Ethernet, HDMI or SDI cable. And if you're not going to rely on the venue for an HDMI or SDI cable, don't rely on them for Wi-Fi. Bring your own Wi-Fi. Let's bring that back up. Bring your own Wi-Fi. Something that you own, that you test, that you have beat up, that you have put as many signals through it, and you actually have tested it to the point where you've broken it. You know, I can't get more than 5 cameras reliably connected at this data rate. You know where the limit is because it's your network. And for many years, I was using this. This is the Google Wi-Fi Puck, we call it. Especially when I was using Switcher Studio, which is one of the solutions. And these Wi-Fi pucks have served me very well in that they're very simple. They're kind of cool. They're small. They're not the fastest thing out there. They're not the longest reaching thing out there, but it's also a mesh network. So I can go, I've put 3 of these in a row, and that has extended my wireless wires across an entire auditorium very reliably. And I did a 4-hour live stream with 9 cameras, 2 days in a row with 0 issues. In addition to being compact and reliable and mesh networking and kind of cool with the little Cylon red light when it doesn't have not connected to the internet. The other really cool thing that they have is, let me go here, is they're powered by USB-C. And you need to give it 2.4 amps of 5 volts. I did a wedding in a big orchard and all my cameras were connected through one of these things sitting up high on a light stand powered with a battery because there was no AC out there at all. This is not the only thing. This is not by any means not the only solution out there. There are many solutions out there that can provide good Wi-Fi. And one of the ones I'm playing with, just for size comparison, I'm going to bring this over. Is this Asus Republic of Gamers ROG. This has 2.5 gigabit in and a 2.5 gigabit loop through. You could run, you could put a cell phone as a access point here. This thing has got Wi-Fi 7, but this is a beast in terms of being able to serve a lot of big things. And the reason I got this is because when I try to put a bunch of higher bandwidth Wi-Fi through this puck, I hit a limit because I've tested it, I've pushed it. And knowing your own limitations is key. So in seeing that, I can get 2, maybe 3, but then it really starts to make this thing chug a little bit because it's a consumer product. Then I sit there and say, okay, what's out there that's big and bad that I can get that could possibly handle more wireless NDI further, better, faster, and not have a back-end bottleneck, because this thing is designed, the back plane on this is designed to handle 2.5 gigabits. So this is going to be, it's still in testing. But that is what I mean when I give the first rule. Bring your own good Wi-Fi. Don't rely on whatever's at the location, because it is also usually serving everything else at the location. So you have no control over the amount of data that's already on that backplane that you're trying to compete with and get your stuff through. Secondly, a lot of times a public Wi-Fi is isolated. So you connect to it, but your devices can't see each other because public Wi-Fi is designed for privacy so that each device can see the internet, but they can't see each other, which is exactly what all of our cameras need to do. They all need to see each other. So, you don't know how well it is. You don't know how far it works. You don't know what the limitations are. It's a complete unknown. So rule 1, bring your own good Wi-Fi. So just start out with that rule right there. Hi, can we use a router without internet as a source to connect NDI devices, camera switcher to YOLO Box Ultra? Does wireless camera support NDI out? Couple questions there, and I can answer both of those for you. Can you use a router? Okay, router and wireless access point are two different things. You can have a wireless access point without a router. This is a router and a hub and a wireless access point. This is all three things. So can you use that as a source? Not a source, it's a connection to connect NDI devices, camera plus switcher to the YOLO Box Ultra? Absolutely. Well, I have a cell phone. I'm just going to use my cell phone's hotspot to connect the next thing. The Wi-Fi in here is mainly meant to receive. It's not meant to transmit. The transmit power, the transmit efficiency, the antenna structure is really not optimized for doing multi-camera live switch production. This is designed to serve multiple devices at the same time. This is not. This is designed to suck in data so you could watch YouTube. This is designed to handle ins and outs of multiple devices all at the same time. This is not. So this can be used, and I have used this for years as my virtual wires, my wireless wires between multiple cameras. I would go into a facility. I take this. I actually have it set up over here. I take this, and I have the one I have in the kit has a little one of those little plates like this that you put on your cell phone, and then I just take this thing and I put it on top of a light stand, and I put the light stand high in the air so that this is way above the people. Because remember, it's wireless, but it's RF. The two things have to see each other. You can't have it sitting down here on a table and have 200 people between you and the camera, because 200 people is basically like 200 bags of water, and water absorbs RF. Now, you might get some bounce around the room, but the best way to do it is to get it up in the air as high as you can so that you have direct line of sight to the cameras. Dominic, a great switcher studio producer in England, in the UK, he's used these for years, and I remember seeing an event that he did in this huge facility, big dance club and everything, and they were going to have cameras walking around for everything. They took these and mounted them to the ceiling in different places. And of course, remember, it's a mesh. As long as these things can see and connect to each other, you've blanketed the whole space. And if your cameras are down here, you've got line of sight wherever that camera might go. Smart thinking, huh? So yes, you can use these things to be your wires between the cameras and your switchers. So if I have an Obsbot and I have an Ultra, if I want to go between these two, I can indeed use my Wi-Fi that I've tested, and I know it works, and it will handle 2 or 3 or whatever my test is. And how far can I go? I've tested that. And you know, how long will it run on a battery? I've tested that. And that way I can go into an event knowing for certain that I can do the cameras, how far I can have the cameras, how long it's going to last, you know. That is, you need to have as many knowns when you go into a location. We'll get to a caveat in a minute. NDI is a particular thing because most data that is traveling around a network is traveling, it's packetized because it's on a local area network. It's video over IP. And all that stuff is packetized, and multiple cameras sending little packets. And if two packets collide, they know they wait a random length of time and they resend. So that is a whole protocol, but it's a lot of data for a switch to be handling. And not all switches can handle higher bandwidth NDI very well. Like I said, not all switches can handle higher bandwidth NDI very well. Like I've tried with the Google, and 2-3 devices, I start to see problems, which is why I'm looking at, you know, a higher bandwidth device that is already designed from the ground up to be able to serve a ton of data very fast. So that is why I'm looking at the gaming routers. That is their claim to fame, is that they are designed to have minimal latency so that your gaming isn't slowed down by the processing in the switch. So they, I feel, would be the best bet. Now, as far as I know, there's not been a gaming router that has been tested and certified to be good for NDI. So on the Stream Tech channel, if you go to the videos, if you're curious about NDI, you can see NDI, a basic intro. This one right here, that is a great place to start, where I kind of explain what is NDI and what does NDI really give you. The basic intro right over there is a great starting point. And then when you get up to the top, there's more NDI, which talks about bit rates, licensing, full versus HX, because there's a couple different flavors of NDI which have different data rates. You know, because I talk about the full versus HX and the bit rates, because then you start throwing a whole bunch of NDI on the network, you realize you're starting to fill up what the network can do. And whether it be wireless, then you're really, you know, you're competing with a lot of other things in the Wi-Fi space that you don't necessarily have to deal with in the wired space. So there's a lot to think about when you're doing NDI. If you're curious about NDI, you've got a couple great videos on the Stream Tech channel that you can just spend, you know, a little bit of time today, this afternoon, bookmark them, save them, share them with your friends. And you can, you know, really get up to speed on what NDI can offer you. One of the key things with Wi-Fi that will always be a challenge. I know people love just, I don't have to bring any wires. Yeah, but wires are always the most reliable thing. Whether it be NDI, whether it be HDMI, whether it be SDI, wires are always very reliable. Wireless is great and it's quick and it's easy until it doesn't work, because you could be sending your NDI over Wi-Fi and then somebody else shows up with a wireless video transmitter. Guess what frequencies these wireless video transmitters use? They use 2.4 and 5 gigahertz, which is the same frequencies that Wi-Fi uses. The difference being Wi-Fi is a networking protocol. So each of these devices, let's see if I can just have it stand up here for a second. Each of these devices sends, receives, did you get it? Did you get it? It's a very polite, social code, you know, system, where if you didn't get a packet, don't worry, I'll resend it. Here you go. You know, that's how it works. These things are like driving a Mack truck through a glass shop. You turn them on and they take over a swath of frequencies and they send their video. They don't care who else was there. They don't care what else was going on. They just take over and slam their information through, because these are designed to be reliable from point A to point B. They don't care what else is on the frequency. And if you've got two of these walking around on your studio, your Wi-Fi is basically going to be terminated. Some of the new ones now work on both 2.4 and 5 gigahertz, totally dominating. That makes them more reliable. Yeah, but it kills everything else. So if you want to have a wireless microphone, hey, I tried to use wireless microphones at NAB, and you know what? There's some wireless transmitters in the 2.4 gigahertz space that basically meant that I couldn't get a reliable signal from me to the camera because there was too much other RF. And the real challenge is, but I looked on my Wi-Fi scan and I didn't see anything else. These don't show up on a Wi-Fi scan because these are not Wi-Fi. They don't broadcast an ID. They just take over a frequency and they don't care. There are ways you can find them, but then it gets really complex and, you know, frequency RF scans and things like that. But it is a real challenge. Number 2, don't trust the house. Oh, no. We've got good Wi-Fi here at the restaurant. Don't care. Bring your own Wi-Fi. Oh, no. We'll give you an audio feed from the board. Guess what? I'm bringing an audio mixer. Why? Because I have done enough shows in 20 years of doing live production. In 20 years, yeah, it's been a long time. I have done enough shows. You can see right there, this is a live show. This is being done on Switcher Studio. So that's the iPad Pro. And then I have my own audio mixer. Now they're doing a show. They have a pro audio person standing at an audio mixer and he's sending me a feed. Why do I have my own audio mixer? Because I'm going to say 90% of the time, the feed that they give me needs to be tweaked in some way. Somewhere along the line, somebody goes up and starts talking and their audio is lower. Sounds good in the room, but I'm looking at the levels on the meter. I'm listening to it in the headphones. Always make sure you have good headphones. And it's like, I wish I could just turn that up a little bit, just that one mic. And then when we go back to everything else, it sounds fine. I can turn it back down. Or I want to increase the high frequencies a little bit, just, fix that off a little bit. Is he sending me line level or is he sending me mic level? Doesn't matter. Just give me the XLR. I can plug it in here. I can select whether it's line or mic level, and then I can fix everything else. And then I can also add my own microphone to this and then have a little bit of room sound as well. And I can do my own little submix for the remote audience. Whereas, if somebody's talking to the audience, hey, how's everybody doing today? Their microphone that's going out to the audience is designed to not have the audience in it. The remote audience would actually appreciate hearing the fans, hearing the audience. So adding a room microphone, which would feed back in the room to the remote audience, is actually a good idea. And I can do that when I have my own sub mixer. So don't trust the house. If they're going to give you a feed, great. If they're not going to give you a feed, be prepared because you don't trust the house. No offense to the house. Some great people in the houses, some great houses I've worked at, but always come prepared to basically do your own show. Rule number 3, backups. I can't tell you how many times I've been hired for an event and they would say, we just need one camera. How many of you would show up with just one camera? Don't show up with one camera. Show up with 2, at least 2. And when I'm doing a live stream, we just want a shot of the podium. And then when you get there, there's always we're going to have 2 people. Or he's going to have someone do an interview with someone. You know what? I brought a second camera and I'm going to have a wide shot and I'm going to have a close shot. And I can do that because I brought a second camera. But if my first camera overheats or something happens, I've got a backup. It's already connected. It's already running. I switched cameras. You don't even know I had a problem because I've got backups. Hey, I'm going to go there. I've got my vMix switcher. I've got my capture card and everything. I'll bring a YOLO box and I'll throw it in my bag. Why? What happens if the laptop blows out? What if the power supply for the laptop decides to die? I've got a backup. It may not be as capable as I promised, but it's going to get something done. And rule number 3, have backups. How many times do I hear stories of somebody saying, I brought name tool here, works for any tool. I brought this tool and I went there and it crashed. I lost the gig and my client hates me. Well, did you have a backup? Did you test it before you went? Were you sure it was going to be able to work outdoors in the sun at 100 degrees or 45 degrees of heat Celsius, for 4 hours? Did you test that? Did you actually test that before you went? No? Then it's on you. It's not on them. And that kind of leads us to rule 4. Test everything. Test everything. Test it, test it, test it, test it, test it. If I sound testy, it's because I'm testing everything. This setup that I did with the 9 cameras and everything, you can see I've got my laptop there. The laptop was the backup. Should something go really awry with the wireless setup that I had, I'd be producing it on the laptop. But the goal was to produce it with Switcher Studio on the iPad with 9 devices spread around the area. And I built it, I tested it, and it worked. I did another stream with the Mevo Starts. A concert, and these were going to be on stage on little mic stands for the entire concert. I had these on mic stands, connected the batteries outside in summer heat in Texas, and I ran them for 7 hours. The concert was only 5. I ran these for 7 hours just to make sure they would do what I needed them to do. Test everything. You know, and people say, well, why does it cost so much to have you come and do this? Because I'm not just doing it for you. I tested it. You're paying me not to show up. You're paying me to deliver a successful event. And that includes not just me being there. It includes the setup, the test, the knowledge, the years of experience. It includes everything else. So test everything. And rule 5, do a site survey. So many times you find out like, hey, I tested it at home. It worked great. We went to the site and something didn't work. Very often it might have to do with Wi-Fi or cellular connectivity, because the cellular connectivity you have on your bonded device when you tested it in one location, if you move a mile, your cellular connectivity is completely different. And so if you want to know if you're going to be able to do that, you know, live thing at the corporate whatever, you have to go there. And you actually have to do a site survey. Oh, they're going to say, oh, we'll give you an Ethernet. Okay, let's go there and do a site survey. I'll bring my laptop. I'll play a video. I want to do a site survey with the Ethernet you're going to give me, and I want to test it, and I want to push a stream for 30 minutes, looping video to see if it goes all the way to the destination, if your servers have any issue with my stream, if there's any sort of bottleneck, if it's able to, you know, handle the bandwidth. I did a stream for a local company, and they were actually in a building that was so old that it had shared Ethernet connectivity that came from another building. And they're like, yeah, we have Ethernet in the building. We could give it to you. It's probably best if you bring your own. Site survey, very important. Go there, test it. Bring your cameras, especially if you're going to try to do wireless mobile networking. Bring your cameras, set them all up where they're going to be. You know, do it. Rule number 6, dedicated devices. You don't realize how often people say, well, I've got an iPad and I'm going to use it for my live streaming. But at the same time, they've got a SIM card in the iPad and they use it for their messaging, and they got their email hooked into it, and they've got a couple gaming apps. And during the show, they just keep getting all these notifications. Now, you can put it on Do Not Disturb, but if it's your primary device, if it's your only device, you know, I see people trying to do things with their, you know, this is my cell phone, and I'm trying to do a show, and I'm getting a call. Well, the phone is going to try to notify you that you're getting a call, and it becomes an issue by not having a dedicated device for production. You know, here on my desk, I've got a laptop that literally just sits here just for doing testing, doing these shows. This is a dedicated device. Yes, it's only a $100 laptop, but I don't ask it to do much, but basically show you these websites. You know, when I need to call something up, I need to have something here, and I'm not going to keep repurposing another device and have it, you know, where is it now? Oh, I just installed the latest something on it. Now it doesn't do this other thing. This is a dedicated device, and it does this. And that is a key thing, especially in terms of don't use your mobile phone and don't use your, you know, primary iPad that you use for everything else, or your kid's iPad. So dedicated devices save you a lot of heartache. Plus, also, once you've tested something on that device, you know it works on that device. And if you don't update and if you don't install things, previous video, do not update. That's the video, do not update. And that goes us right here. Reboot, number 7, reboot and update with caution. I just finished a video that the premise of the video is you do not update. You can go to your iPad and tell it, do not automatically download updates. And then there's a space in the apps section says, do not automatically download updates. Because when you test and verify and everything is good, you don't want to come back and find out that Switcher Studio pushed an update on Wednesday, your event's on Friday or Saturday, and guess what? A whole new splash screen and a whole new way of navigating to your projects, and your media has all been rearranged and everything, and you are now spending way too much time trying to figure out where you even are as opposed to focusing on the event. So you can tell these things, you know, that week, you know, when I have a Windows machine that Monday, and I go and I let it run for a couple hours. Go check the hard drive for any viruses. You do this, do all your house cleaning. Okay, there's an update and everything. Guess what? You can download the update, but I'm going to go into the Windows Manager and I'm going to say no updates for a week. Nothing. Do not change anything. Then I go and set up my vMix and I go and test the stream and I go and do all that. And I know nothing's going to change behind my back. I'm not going to come down Friday morning and find it, just standing there with a regular Windows welcome screen because it automatically updated and I don't know what's going on in the background. So reboot and update with caution. And that week of, make sure that you've tested, you prepped, and you turn auto updates off. Rule 6, use dedicated devices. If you're doing production and it's a production device, it needs to be dedicated to production. If you're going to do a site survey, go to the location and do as much as you can before the actual event so that you can find out what doesn't work, and then test everything. Test. Like I says right here. Rule number 3, backups. Make sure you've got, if your primary doesn't work, what do you have that can get something done? Maybe not as good as the primary, but it can get you a camera, 2 cameras or something like that and get to the stream. And make sure that your backup is set up. So if you've got a custom RTMP and all this other stuff set up, you got to set it up on both your primary and your backup. And number 1, bring your own Wi-Fi. Today we went for a good hour and 20 minutes. I thank you all for being here. Hey, give StreamTech a subscription. Hey, go find a playlist and put it on loop. Give me lots of views. There is a Teradek AirMix group if you're interested in some free software. I mean, on camera, it looks absolutely beastly. It does. Thank you all for being here. Once again, my name is Anthony Brooks. I'm the Chief Gearhead here at StreamTech, and I will look forward to seeing you all next week.